Welcome to the Glen Alex Show.
Hello, world, and welcome back to the Glen Alex Show. Hi, I'm Glen Alex, clinical social worker, the wealth counselor, and author of Living in Total Health, the 2021 Indie Book Award winner for Health and Wellness, and finalist in the Mind, Body, Spirit category. My life's work is about total health, and I am on a mission to help as many people as I can to be joyful, connected, confident, and complete. The life experience we call wealth, WELLTH, which is health plus other riches. And this very special episode of the Glen Alex Show is a compilation of wisdom clips from my 2021 guests. I wanted you to have a nice, neat, ready to use package of information and insights that you can easily implement to start living in total health today. And I hope you do. Enjoy the show. Enjoy this clip from the Glen Alex Show on resilience and grief with Dr. Robin Donaldson. What's your take on how people can grieve the losses of 2020?
Oh my goodness, like the entire year, just like blink and just pretend like it didn't happen. Easier said than done. That's at least what my patients keep telling me. Like, hey, I wish that we could just like erase. And I said, yeah, but in this day and age, it's delete. Right, the technology. We survived it, and I think that recognizing the fact that we've come through is good, because there was so much that I don't care who you are, like where you came from. Everybody got through this past year, and we're marking on that, regardless of what 2021 brings or continues to bring. Like, we have to pat ourselves on the back for getting through, what was 2020.
That's a great point. Because I was thinking more of the morning of 2020, but that's a great perspective, is to express gratitude and acknowledge your strength for making it through.
And absolutely, like we going into 2020, we were all excited because it was a cool number and we had high hopes. And you're right, like we're all, even in the recognition that you survived. What did you survive? You survived something that you didn't want to, right? Nobody gets on the other side of grief, or is working through their difficulties and say, they don't will say, hey, this was easy peasy. It's you've gone through something, and there's a reason that we say that we have survived 2020. There's a reason that we say all these things, and my hope is that people in 2021 can acknowledge the fact that they did kind of have some difficulties.
Okay, I hope so too. Enjoy this clip from the Glen Alex Show on pandemic dating with Amy Lettingham. However, for me, I love throughout the year.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give for either a new couple or a couple that's been together for a while on how to be of the loving mindset more than just one day?
Well, this reminds me of, so I have this idea of a three-legged stool, right?
Okay.
And three-legged stool is, there's you, partner A, there's the partner B, which is your partner, right? And then there's the relationship. In order for the stool to be balanced, all three need to be invested equally. So, that's how it works. Like, if one person's needs or wants becomes more selfish, it topples the stool. If the other person is investing too much and not getting and receiving back, it topples it. And if the relationship doesn't get investment from either side, it eventually topples it. So we have to constantly, and it evolves, right? Because it's hard.
Mhm.
Life is hard. Things change. I've been married for 8 years. Trust me, there's like great times and there's like, and I'm a relationship coach. So, so you have to both want to work at that relationship and treat it like it's a priority just as much as yourself.
Okay, yes. I totally agree. Yes, I was about to jump up and down, but I can't do that in this format. Because love is action. That's what my latest blog is about. That's what my nourishing thought is about. And I love when Stephen Covey said, love is a verb. It's the things you do, the caring behavior. So thank you so much for that. Now, I know I can talk to you about this all day. I know you don't have all day. So just what nugget would you want to share with the world about dating, romance, relationships?
Well, one of the lines that always stayed in my heart was be an example of the type of person you want to attract.
Okay.
That one thing, right? A lot of
Yes.
us we're out there and we're like, I want a guy that's like emotionally expressive and vulnerable. And I'm like, so how are you with that? I suck at it. And I'm like, okay, well, it's going to take you to work on yourself to do that because like attracts like. And so we have to do that inner work on ourselves. It doesn't mean that we're not better or they're better than us or we're incapable. Everything is a skill. Everything can be learned. And it's okay to not be perfect. And it's okay to work towards something and then find love while you're doing that.
Okay. Okay. Say that quote again,
Be
please.
an example of the type of person you want to attract.
Okay. Note to self.
Enjoyed this clip from the Glen Alex Show on sleep with certified sleep science coach Tom LaPonte.
Just what is the one nugget, the one thing you want to share with the world about sleep?
So if we were to sum it up, right? Sleep advocacy begins with you, and so begins with the individual. And so what I tell people is, when you go into your doctor, don't assume your doctor understands your sleep issues. Don't assume that. Always go in and ask the questions and allow them to essentially listen to what it is you're going through. So express to them, I'm having trouble because of X, Y, and Z. I had a death in the family or this or that or whatever it is. Express what you're going through. And if your doctor is immediately saying, take a sleep aid, that is a clue that you should probably get a second opinion. Because prescribing and overprescribing, there's over 22 million people who suffer from sleep apnea. There's over 60% of Americans that suffer from insomnia. And there's 20% of the world's population that takes sleep aids. Could you believe that? Sleep aids are like 20% of the population. Just drop them from over the counter to the doctor. And so I tell people, if you're going to go to a doctor and you're going to describe what your sleep condition is, make sure you're your own advocate. And that if you're not getting the answers, get a second opinion. Feel free to drop me a line. I'll be happy to talk to you about where you can go to get the proper answers to get the best sleep.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Be your own advocate. And that will work well in pretty much any area of life.
Well, there's a lot of people that won't be advocates for themselves and they'll just take the medicine and they'll get really bad results because sleep aids, and we don't have a lot of time, but sleep aids tend to actually throw off the circadian rhythm. And so if you take sleep aids excessively, you're actually messing with that rhythm and never going into a deep sleep state. And, there are various stages in sleep. If you're not getting enough deep sleep, you could be having all kinds of people's car accidents happen. All this stuff happens as a result of lack of sleep.
Enjoyed this clip from the Glen Alex Show on hydration with certified athletic trainer Sherry Headland.
Now, I read something the other day that surprised me.
Okay.
And it said that we need to hydrate just as much in the winter as in the summer.
I agree 100% with that.
Because
I think it's deceiving during the winter because it's cold. Well, it's cold in a lot of the regions of the country or the world. But the thing that we forget is that we're in rooms and gyms that are heated. And so we get dehydrated from that. Our activity level for most people is still pretty high. And so the idea of skipping that water that makes our body work I mean, we're still very busy, and we're sitting in heated rooms, or we're working in heated rooms. We're going from climate to climate, from outside to inside. That also is a dehydrator. Our system has to work harder. And so anything that I think when we think our system is working harder for any reason, that it's using that water to help everything move.
Okay. I mean, well, it makes sense when you explain it that way. It just seems counterintuitive that warming up a room is going to dehydrate you, but
Right.
it makes sense when you say it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's hard to convince athletes, even professional athletes, of that. So it seems sun dehydration, that's kind of the way we're built. I think we're built to think about that.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, good
Okay, well,
point.
thank you.
Well, it's a really good point because we run into this a lot. So I think it's a really good point. And during the winter, we do indoor tournaments. And sometimes they think they're indoor, and that's what you're speaking to as well. We'll be in Minnesota where it's -3 degrees at an indoor facility, and they are so dehydrated.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we still need to hydrate in the winter,
Yes.
year round.
Year round, yes. And then there are factors like illness or even grieving, where climate change, traveling, air travel, all of that adds to the dehydration.
Okay. Well, and thank you for bringing up the mental and emotional stuff because the mental health aspect of health is very draining on the system.
Mm-hmm.
It can tax your nerves, your circulation, and it's huge. So
Right.
it would make sense too that it'll dehydrate you.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's something it's less tangible. And
It is
so,
definitely, yeah. We just think it's something over there when it really is part and parcel of who we are. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, thank you again for bringing that up.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you're so smart.
Thank you, Glenn.
That was a good response. Okay, in light of all of the information you shared with us today, what is the one nugget you want to share with the world?
I think probably the biggest thing is trying to make hydration just a lifestyle. Simply, I mean, if you sit down to dinner and perhaps you have a glass of wine, have 2 glasses of water. When you have your cup of coffee or tea in the morning, they're both dehydrators. Add in that 8 or the couple glasses of water. Just
Okay.
And then obviously, as we spoke about earlier, is daily check that urine. But just when it becomes a lifestyle, it's kind of a little game that you could win. If you're competitive athletes, then part of the game is internal. Can I beat myself today? Can I be
Right.
better today than I was yesterday? And so that might be one of those kind of internal games to play. But just to counterbalance that with lifestyle and food and drink, versus the hydration, and not versus. So yeah.
Okay. So just make it a part of your daily routine and you don't have to think about it or worry about it.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
when you're going to be active, just do a little extra.
Exactly.
Okay.
Enjoy this clip from the Glen Alex Show on what boundaries are with Glen Alex. For me, boundaries are the most underrated aspect of health because without appropriate boundaries, nutrition plans fall through, exercise regimens break down, self-care becomes extinct, and relationships crumble. Healthy boundaries are the foundation for health and happiness. So let's get into the meat of the material. Boundaries have very specific functions, 2 purposes. Purpose number 1 is your boundaries are there for individuation. Your boundaries tell you where you begin and end as a person. They tell me where I begin and end as a person. And that's how we relate to each other as individuals. Even though we have some things in common with other people, like beliefs, values, interests, we are still individually separate and unique creatures. We have our own mindsets, our own perceptions, and more importantly, we have our own gifts and talents that we need to share with the world.
So individuation is very, very important in boundaries. The second purpose of boundaries is for protection, to safeguard the integrity of your person. Your boundaries are an innate alarm system that you are born with. This alarm system will send signals frequently when you are in danger physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Okay. And the problem comes when we don't pay attention to that. We don't pay attention enough. Now, boundaries occur in every area of life. We have at home, at work, in society, in the law. We have deadlines, we have time clocks, we have state lines, we have borders, we have all of these lines that we are dared to cross. If we cross them, then that becomes problematic. Boundaries also occur at every level of humanity, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Enjoy this clip from the Glen Alex Show on Total Health with Dr. Lindsay Elmore.
It's not about what you eat, it's about how you eat it. And I think that that is so true. And if your doctor is telling you that calories in equals calories out, and that's why you're not losing weight, they're wrong. If you are struggling to lose weight, it's because you have an inflammation problem, and it could be that stress is at the root of that inflammation. So how can we make eating, as well as the times of not eating in between, a meditation? How do we make that like a part of our self-care? Self-care gets tossed around a lot like it means something, but it's actually a radical act to care for yourself, to love yourself enough to do the hard things. It's a radical act.
It absolutely is. And self-care for me also includes setting appropriate limits with people. Your spouse keeps bringing home cookies and things like that they know aren't good for you. You have to set limits with that. And, I have some issues too. And I've learned to tell my friends and family, no, I can't have that. I don't want any, so care is definitely setting limits as well.
Enjoy this clip of the Glen Alex Show on grief and loss with Glen Alex.
But whatever your outcome looks like on the other side of healthy grieving will be great for you and for your loved ones. I'm absolutely certain of that. So what about peace? I detail it in my blog, How to Cope with the Pain of Loss, on glenalex.com. Basically, it's, like I said, elements to help you process. The first element is patience. You must be patient with yourself. You must allow your grief to unfold without judging yourself, without beating yourself up. You're not a bad person. It's not your fault. You're not being punished because your loved one died, for example. Emotions. Grief will bring up the gamut of emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, some love, some joy. You may even experience some guilt over the situation. You may get into some bargaining, exchanging your life for theirs or something like that. Acceptance. We humans like to resist reality when we don't like what reality is. So we think by resisting it, we change it, we control it. No. Reality is bigger than any one of us, and reality will win. So the sooner you accept reality, even though reality is painful, even though reality is challenging, even though reality is frustrating, it is what it is. So the moment you acknowledge that, a lot of stress will be lifted from you. It'll take a lot of pressure off because there's so much energy tied into trying to control reality that it is harmful to ourselves. So acceptance. Containment. Contain your emotions, your grief process as much as you can. Again, the grief is going to show up in waves and sometimes randomly. However, as much as you can, I don't want you crying on the freeway at 80 miles an hour. I don't want you passing out in the grocery store because you're overwhelmed with grief. So if you can create and set up some time where you can allow yourself to feel what you feel when you feel it, that will help you in the grief process as well. And empathize. You must empathize with yourself. If you had a best friend going through something painful, I'm sure you would be loving, supportive, nurturing, comforting. If you can do that for your best friend, you absolutely can and need to do that for yourself. You need to be your own best friend when you're going through challenges. So the peace method, patience, emotions, acceptance, containment, and empathy will help you process your grief so you can be healthier on the other side of it. And again, for more details about the peace method, please read my blog, How to Cope with the Pain of Loss, on glenalex.com.
Enjoy this clip of the Glen Alex Show on essential oils and health with Stacey Hall.
Yes, and we definitely need more positivity and wellness in our world.
Yes.
So what is the one thing you want to leave with people? The one thing you want them to know about essential oils?
I believe that Mother Nature lives inside the oil. And if we allow a plant to grow from non-genetically modified seed, if we allow that plant to grow into its fullness, and when I say plant, it could be a flowering plant, it could be a citrus plant, it could be a tree. If we allow it to grow fully into its maturity, before we take the oil from it, if we take the oil in sustainable ways, and there's some companies that do, and there's a lot of companies that don't. If we don't add anything to the oil or take anything away from it, we keep it in its pure state when it goes into the bottle, and we protect that bottle all the way along the process till it gets into our hands, then what we're doing is we're receiving the comfort of Mother Nature. And we can receive that physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, as people have for thousands of years.
Yes, you're speaking my language about total health. So
Enjoy this clip of the Glen Alex Show on relationships and betrayal with Dr. Debbie Silver.
Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo my experience, but I can control what I do with it. And I always use the example of, if you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, apartment, whatever, all your stuff's not there. It's not quite cozy yet, but it's going to be okay. And when you're in this position, you start turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but you stopped the massive damage you were causing in stages 2 and stage 3. What's really interesting about stage 4 also is, if you were to move, you don't take everything with you, right? You don't take the things that don't represent who you want to be once you're in that new place. And what I found was, if your friends weren't there for you, or like the misery loves company crowd, you don't take them with you.
Right.
Right here's where you've outgrown them. So people say to me all the time, what the heck? I've had these friends 10, 20, 30 years. Is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. And if they don't rise, they don't come along.
Right.
So
And you know what that sounds like to me too, is when you move, packing is not the most fun thing, but discarding things that no longer serve me.
Exactly. That's it.
Okay, that's stage 4. Enjoy this clip of the Glen Alex Show on emotional eating with registered dietitian Cassie Christopher.
And that other one that I can't remember or pronounce,
Ghrelin. Yes.
Ghrelin?
Yes, ghrelin. Think of gremlin, and that'll probably just confuse you. But now you're confused. So ghrelin is an appetite hormone. And the ghrelin is interesting. So the longer that you've gone from eating, so say you ate, 30 minutes ago, ghrelin starts to build up in your brain saying it's time to eat. But now it's been an hour since you ate, it builds up a little more. It's been 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Ghrelin starts to build up so high and is screaming at your brain. You need to eat. You need to eat right now. I don't care what it is. Go to the vending machine, right? So it's that like, it's been a long time since you've eaten, or maybe you didn't eat much during the day. And now you're at home at night and people are going, why am I snacking on all the crackers and my glass of wine to unwind while I'm making dinner? Why can't I just make dinner? I'm eating so much. Ghrelin. And so the answer to that, and actually this helps with cortisol balancing too, is to eat regularly throughout the day. And I know that's so hard. I just had a client who said, she was a little embarrassed. She goes, I haven't been eating very regularly, but I finally set a timer. And she's embarrassed that she just finally set a timer. I'm like, hey, no shame, right? Like we all get there. We have to see it's a problem first, but it makes a difference.
Yeah, whatever you need to do to make it work for you.
Thank you again for tuning in to the Glen Alex Show. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Refresh your spirit with a nourishing thought.
Please allow me to leave you with this nourishing thought. Roman philosopher Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. And yes, that is true. So as 2021 began, 2021 will end. And as 2021 comes to a close, I encourage you to take time to reflect on how the year went for you. What worked? What didn't? What could you do better? And what do you need to let go of? As Seneca alluded to, every beginning is the end of something else. So your honest reflection about the year will direct you to see and know what it is that needs to end in your life, what you need to let go of. Is it an unhealthy habit? Is it a dead-end job? Is it a toxic relationship? Do you need to let go of poor self-care? What is it that is time to end in your life? And I want you to be intentional about how you end 2021 and what you take into 2022. And don't waste another moment of your precious time on earth living in unhealth. Use every breath intentionally and consciously to start living in total health. And you do not need to wait for the new year to begin this process. Again, how you end 2021 will have a huge influence over how you begin 2022. So I encourage you to start living in total health today. And for more information on living in total health, please read my current blog on glenalex.com. Like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, be well.
Your health matters, said your